Welcome back once again. Denver Mayor Michael Hancock joins us now for our bi-weekly interview with him, giving us his take on some of the biggest issues the city is facing right now. And Mayor, thank you, as always, for being here.
Brian, Molly, always good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to see you. In the past week, Denver police shot and killed 3 people. Chief Payson admits this is very unusual, and this all comes after the city council rejected your proposed contract agreement with DPD. So what do the negotiations look like now?
Well, Molly, negotiations aside, I mean, we always can go back to the table and try to work out a solution that we can get through council. We're gonna work on that. But what I'm more concerned about, and I think what the chief was working to convey, is that it's a very tenuous situation out there. Across this country, we are seeing more police shootings with people who are pointing weapons or coming at the officers with weapons, and it's a very, very major concern for mayors and for our governors across this country. And it's something that, you know, started even before this the social unrest was ignited that earlier this spring and summer. This was a trend we've been watching for several years now. I think a lot of issues complicated, but it's one that causes us a great deal of concern.
Mayor, we ran a 360 report on the group living situation in Denver, which highlights some of the backlash right now to expand the number of unrelated adults that can live in a single-family home. It's meant to obviously help with the affordable housing options. Where do you stand right now on this issue?
Well, here's the reality, Brian. You might recall a couple years ago, we completed our comprehensive plan for the city of Denver. And one of the challenges, or at least I should say opportunities that was enlisted in that plan, and it was the people of Denver, thousands of residents who came together and said, we need to, one, address the question of equity in our city and work to provide more affordable housing. And density is the best answer to that, particularly around major transportation corridors. This group living proposal, I believe, begins the process of underlining that value. And so I support that. We do have to have a good conversation with the community so that people understand that it's not a, you know, if we go that direction with our policy, we will always have work to do to make sure that whatever is implemented in neighborhoods is consistent with neighborhoods that this plan is implemented in. I certainly understand on both sides of the arguments their value that they're discussing, but folks, as this city continues to grow, we've got to find answers to improving our greater density question, as well as equity and affordable housing. And this is a plan to help us do that. I know we have a ways to go with community input, but this is a process to help us get there.
Yeah, affordable housing, homelessness, they all kind of tie in together. This week, you nixed a proposed camp for the 5 Points neighborhood. It was kind of controversial. Why did you make that decision, and what is the plan to move forward?
Molly, just early this summer, you know, I made a very difficult decision, one that I have, I reluctantly made to allow the Colorado Village Collaborative to begin the process of looking for sites where we can do a sanctioned outdoor site for a homeless encampment. And I'll tell you that one of the things that I hope people appreciate is the difficulty of addressing the complexities of homelessness. This 5 Point site was one of many that we have been looking at. It was the conversation, or at least the concern in the community, was ignited by the collaborative, the Colorado Collaborative, Village Collaborative, excuse me, going to the BID, the Business Improvement District, and explaining, hey, this is a site we're looking at. It has, you know, the possibilities, and we're just looking at it, and that's all it was at this point in time. The reason why I chose to pull it back, Molly, is because not only did we hear from the community very strongly, and I want to tell you it was a broad-based concern issue that coming at us from the community, but also the fact that internally we hadn't dotted every I and crossed every T, and there just was not good coordination and good communication, and that disturbed me greatly. For me to get, as the mayor, to hear about concerns and that people believed it was a done deal before I was even fully briefed and able to make good decisions with regards to it, and it wasn't ready, gave me great concern. So I said, take it off the table. Let's reset these conversations. Let's make sure we're all on the same page as we try to coordinate these very complex and difficult decisions.
And Mayor, on top of all of these issues, you're trying to put together a 2021 city budget, which we know is no easy task. Obviously, a lot of things will have to be cut in addition to the cuts and furloughs already. So we want to know from you what you see as some of the biggest challenges, some of the biggest opportunities that maybe the city is looking at next year.
Well, Brian, as we look at 2020, let's just look 2020, we saw a $220 million shift in the midst of operating the city through the year and the budgetary challenges. As we look to 2021, continuing with the impact of COVID-19 as it did in 2020, the uncertainty does not give us a lot in which to stand on. We are forecasting a $190 million economic shortfall. And so, yes, we're going to have to reduce some services, going to have to implement a budget that calls for city employees to continue to sacrifice with furloughs, all with the focus and goal of continuing to provide service to the people of Denver. While I say that, I am proud of the work that our finance office have done and budget offices have done, because we're able to continue our investments in social service programs that allow us to meet our residents where they are and really serve the most vulnerable in homelessness, expand our programs like our STARS program with the police department, our co-responders program, other social services, make greater investments in trying to combat youth violence and the rise of violence in our city, and continue to do the very basics such as maintain our parks, make sure we're picking up our trash every day, as well as meet the challenges of potential snow events. So I'm proud of the work the city agencies have done, city employees sacrifice, but the leadership of our finance and budget departments help us get through these very difficult times, as they did during the Great Recession while I sat there on city council and as president of council, working with Mayor Hancock.
All right, lots of big, heavy issues. You froze up a little bit at the end there. But before we go, we want to lighten it up a little bit. Let's talk Broncos. We always got to ask you about the Broncos. They're back. Unfortunately, they started off the season with a loss. But how do you think they're looking? How do you think the season is looking? And what about fans in the stadium?
Molly, I am stunned. You want to talk about the Broncos, and you got the Nuggets advancing to the Western Conference.
Yes.
Listen, first for the Broncos, I think the first few games, consider them preseason. That's what we're seeing. That looked like a first preseason game where about second quarter, you're off getting a hot dog and a beer and not worrying about the rest of the game. I was not at all that enthralled with that game, but I am so proud of our Denver Nuggets, Mike Malone and the Nuggets. They have shown us what resiliency is all about, and they have united us as a community behind something that we can all root together for victory. So go Nuggets, go get those Lakers, and let's go on to the championship and bring home that trophy.
It really has been inspiring to see. So yes, game 1 against the Lakers tomorrow. All right, Mayor Hancock, thank you so much for being with us today.
As always, guys, see you in a couple of weeks.
All right.